Running? Yeah. Okay, good. Morning. Get this video done early this morning. Oof. 'Cause I've got lots of things to do today. Right, now I'm a bit hands up sorry that the question I asked, I kind of rushed it out yesterday, and I don't think it was actually the best jump-in sort of question that I could have asked. It's not terrible because it did, the answers were good. This is why it wasn't bad, the question, but it wasn't the best. And I might, yeah, I'll try and explain why. The question about the judge judging Joe had a part in it where it said that the judge understood the Joe situation, say, that Joe was lacking something which caused him to do the crime. But this made an equivalent type thing, if that's the right word. It probably isn't, but I'll go with that, where if the judge knows that Joe was lacking something that made him do the crime, the judge knows about this sort of thing, so the judge knows about how his own actions are going to be affected or not affected by his life. And we get to a situation where okay, I'll bring Windows back in as a bit of an explanation. The judge knows that Joe is running is like a Windows program that was about to go blue screen of death. Since I've had Windows 10 and its update, I've had more Windows blue screens, because they're not blue screens of death anymore, because it soon just modifies itself and alters itself and gets back on the road. But I've had more. I've had about 5 in the last 3 months than I've had. I can't remember having one for 5 years before that. Anyway, the judge knows that Joe was going to go blue screen of death because the way Joe's programming was set up. And we get to the thing where Joe's mum would know, hey Joe, where are you going with that gun in your hand? Joe's mum will have known what Joe was going to do because Joe's mum knows Joe. And we could say that the judge's mum would know how the judge is going to judge, knowing that he knows this sort of information, but also knowing that he's the sort of judge that likes to show the public retribution, or he's the type of judge that likes to be very lenient with young people, or the type of, you know, different judges do things in their own different ways. The judge's mum would know how the judge is going to react. Anyway, I won't get into the complications. All I'm saying is I don't think it was my best question. I rather rushed it out. But I'll get back to the answers made, and even if I don't reply to them in video or in comments, as long as they weren't loony ones, I'll be making notes, and they'll be considered for future considerations. Right. So I think that what I should do here is give an easier explanation of this eye thing, which has come to mind. And it is something like, okay, the priority pyramid, I think most people will go for. You'll just give me the benefit of the doubt on that and say, okay, yeah, okay, we can go along with something like that, the priority pyramid. The fact that it's stacked full of stories and not facty facts, I think you'll give me that as well and say, all right, Mystic, go on, we'll have that as well. And then we start running into trouble. But how about I say this sort of thing, that the human being genetically, and we know what we mean by genetically, don't we, really? Let's not nitpick it. Genetically, is genetically predisposed to have a sense of self. yeah, that's the best way of saying it, is genetically predisposed to have a sense of self. Now, I think what happens is that society, when the child is born and grows up, gives that sense of self the label I, or me, or you, depending on the situation. But let's say I. So this sense of self is given the label I. Again, absolutely fair enough, and I think you'd probably go along with that. Where we start getting into debate might be, but I think you might even go with this as well, is that time goes on, the child grows, that I is also given attributions of power by society, by talk, by general consensus. It's given attributes of power which I'm coming along and saying it does not have. And I think you can probably go along with that. If we say that it isn't the sense of self which is choosing between the vanilla and chocolate ice cream. It isn't the sense of self which chooses which university to go to. It's not the sense of self which chooses whether to do Joe's crime or not. It's not the sense of self that does anything except be the sense of self. I think when I say I think, I know a bit about this, but not, you know, if you know better, tell me. But if you do one of these scans on a brain when it's asked, which girl do you prefer, this one with the big whatsits or that one with the small whatsits, parts of the brain light up. And you go, all right, fair enough. And ask it, which boy do you prefer, this one or this one? Different parts of the brain. If you ask it, probably, which chocolate do you prefer, chocolate or vanilla, when you go to an Italian restaurant, different parts will light up. Would you do this? All sorts of questions would light up different parts of the brain. And there's none of them that really could be a contender for what we should label an I that has power. Okay, I'm going with the I, which is the sense of self. Give that the big thumbs up. But an I that has this power that is attributed to it by society, that it goes around doing choosing things. No, it's different parts of the brain that do those choosing things. And there's no particular one part of the brain which does a dominant amount of choosing things. If there's a contender, it's probably the prefrontal cortex, which you do the Phineas Cage reading, where he got his blown out in an old American, not case, what you call it, yeah, medical case. And he became very bad at doing society things. You know, should you tell this woman she's got a fat bottom? The prefrontal cortex will probably say no. But Phineas Gage, who had his prefrontal cortex knocked around a bit, wouldn't have any compunction from telling a woman she had a fat bottom. So if there's a contender for the eye, it's probably the full frontal cortex. But really, that's not in any way, it's not right, is it? I mean, it's not right. Certainly not in a facty, and in fact you can't even stack it into stories very well. Right, I realise that I'm gabbling a bit this morning. Okay, but I think have I got that across a bit? Repeat. Genetically we are predisposed to have a sense of self. Society then labels that sense of self an I. Later, society then gives or attributes to that I powers which I am saying it does not have. I think if I stop there, most people can go along with that, can't you? I think you can go along with that. You'll probably think, yeah, all right, Nick, I think we can go along. I can go along with that. I don't know where that comes into that determinism stuff, but let's put that on the side and just, okay, I'll go with it. And I say, okay, if you go with that, I put my arms around you and cuddle you in inappropriate ways. I'm well happy. Okay, so the second question that I thought should work out better. But I don't. The first question wasn't bad, but it sent us in. For me, it sent us into loops that we shouldn't have gone straight into. Anyway, the second question, basically, it's an old one again, but I'm going to ask you to answer it this time. We're going in the ghetto to twins in the ghetto. One becomes a doctor and one becomes a drug dealer. Why? And that's it as the question. Why? Have a dig into your stories and facty facts and see what you can come up with. That's it for this morning. Cheers. I'll probably be quiet today, but again, can't guarantee it. Bye.